Good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is PJ Duncan, and I am the Director of the Office of Math and Science here at the Department of Education. And I appreciate you being here with us today. I am going to hopefully share my screen. And let me also, while I'm doing this, apologize. I have several requests for the recordings, and I had promised our work team I would send out the recording after our last meeting. We've had a bit of a technical issue here at the department, and the recordings are too large to email. However, we have another option through SharePoint, and I'm waiting for a team in the department to put those recordings into SharePoint so that I can share them out. So please know that your request is sitting and waiting in a queue for me to be able to provide, I can't prepare, but to provide that meeting link to you so that you can see all the recordings. So my apologies. I'd like to be way more responsive, but I'm going to be dependent on some help for this one. So please don't think that you're being ignored in any way. The recordings are coming just as soon as possible. So hopefully, Chris, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the PowerPoint? Super duper. Okay, so today we are joined by our meeting members. I see Chris is here with us. I see Kelly is here with us. Okay, and do we have other work group members with us at this time? Okay, hopefully Dr. Sheffield and Leah will be able to join us shortly. Go ahead and get started. So as usual, we're going to do the work group work, and then we will open up the floor for public comment. So welcome everyone, and we're just going to review just a little bit and then get right to work. Excuse me. So our purpose is to provide leadership with a proposed definition for the terms age appropriate or developmentally appropriate within the context of statute 1001.428C. And again, just looking back at our success criteria, again, within the context of statute 1001.4, where 0.42, we are providing a proposed definition for Florida school districts, parents, and other stakeholders. And we are reflecting upon the feedback from stakeholders to ensure that the interests of Florida's diverse student population and public school districts are accounted for. So today we have our work group meeting on the 17th, and we have a target date of December 5th. So this is the last work group meeting that we have publicly noticed at this time. If we do not complete our work today, we can certainly schedule further meetings. Takes about 10 days to get that first meeting scheduled. So that is still an option that we can see how the work group feels after we get through our work today. Oops. my PowerPoint just took off on its own. Okay, it's going to be one of those days. I'm just going to go ahead and switch us over then to our working document. And hopefully, I'm on my laptop today, so a little different. Okay, so hopefully you can see the language from the last meeting. Chris, can you see that okay? Cool. All right. So this is where we left off last time. I took the language from the last meeting, all the strike throughs and the highlighted words, and cleaned it up to this version for today. And so I just want to give the work group members the floor, but I'm sure you need a little bit of time to read. So just go ahead and take a look, and then Kelly and Chris, you should be able to unmute and get to work.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm sorry I missed the last meeting.
I'm glad. I know you were under the weather. We're glad to have you back with us.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I like the revisions that have been made to the definition. I noticed that we did take cultural out, which I think was important to do. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good working definition. Kelly, I don't know how you feel.
I apologize because I am driving, trying to go from one thing to the next, but I did read the definition, and I do feel, I'm reflecting on the meeting that we had last time and the changes that we made. I do believe that the changes we made were correct and for the benefit of all. And I did read through the public comment that Ms. Duncan sent to us as well. And I do think we are getting somewhere with the definition.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, I appreciate you sending me the detailed transcript from the last meeting. You're right. I mean, once you start printing that out, there's a lot of pages there. But that was very helpful to me to be able to kind of see what the conversation was. And it's, each meeting we've had similar conversations when it comes to this. And I feel like some of the work that we've looked at from some of the other states, I think we have a good combination of some of those works. So yeah, I mean, if we need to go through each area of the definition, I'm fine with that. But I think just looking at what we're required to do on this task force, I think that it's fairly clear, if someone were to just take the definition, never having seen it, and understand exactly, kind of put everybody on the same page, exactly what it means to be age appropriate or developmentally appropriate.
Yeah, I think we've done due diligence in looking at the statute and how it's being used and deciding on the or. Like, I feel like we've done a good search of what is out there already. I think we've all contributed different resources and have come to this definition based on work that's been done in other places, and the definition allows it, allows district guidance to make the best decisions possible for all students and for each student throughout Florida, keeping in mind how diverse we are throughout the state.
I agree with Kelly, and I think we have such an important task at hand that sometimes you could have a tendency to try to add more, but I think for our part, it really shouldn't be about the quantity and the amount of sentences that are in a definition, but the quality itself. So I think we've accomplished that.
Well, I certainly think that this, well, first of all, we're very thankful for your work on this. I know that working in a school district office, you don't have a tremendous amount of free time. And the fact that you would commit time outside of your work and your family time and your time with friends, especially within an active school year, to work on this is just very, I wanted to say commendable, but that's not a good enough word. And we're very thankful for your willingness. The thing that I reflect back on is thinking about where we began in this work. I did miss one meeting when I was, unfortunately had COVID, but where we began as we worked on this, I feel that I see the conversations amongst the work group and the public comment reflected in this. And so I'm certainly happy to guide us if we want to work through the language one more time. Or if we think that it would be beneficial to listen to public comment at this time, we could do so and provide a bit of time for the public to provide input. And then based upon that input, we could convene back for closer to the end of our time together and reflect upon what our next steps are in terms of if we feel like we have done if we feel like we've accomplished our task and we're ready to give this proposed definition to leadership, or if we think that we need more meetings, we can also determine what that looks like and make plans for that. I have to say that in the transcript that I sent you, it is very long. And that's one of the reasons why the videos are so large, the files are so large. They take a bit of time to even download. But I do realize how many times I say because it's all throughout the transcript. So I'm going to work on that because now when I say it, I hear it doubly. So what do you think, guys? Do you think we should open up for public comment now? And normally I can see the chat at the same time, but because I'm on my laptop here today, I can't see the chat. So there could be public comment in the chat that I'm just not seeing. But I do know that Kelly is driving, so it might be helpful if we were able to read those off to her. So if it's all right with everybody, I believe I'll stop sharing. Chris and Kelly, do you think it's good to go on to public comment, or?
I feel good about going to public comment, and I have pulled over into a parking lot, so nobody needs to be alarmed. Not going to kick out any cars during this.
Thank you. I appreciate, well, I appreciate you doing that for us. And I also appreciate the fact that you're making this meeting work. Probably with teachers and teacher leaders they don't have a lot of spare time. Okay, so I'm I don't know exactly how to accomplish this. Let me just say, since you can see the chat, that's great. And everybody can still see the language up. I just want the language to be up for public content comments. So can you still see the language okay, Chris?
Yes, I sure can. So
Okay.
yes, if you need me to assist with looking at the language of the definition or looking for anything in the chat box, I'll be glad to help with that.
Thank you, sir. Okay. So at this time, if you would like to provide comment, please just go ahead and um, um, raise your hand and Jim will unmute you, or if you prefer, just go ahead and type in the chat. Or if you have any trouble with any of that, I mean, with raising your hand or anything, you can also put into the chat that you'd like to be unmuted and we'll unmute you from there. Okay, go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to mention, I don't know if you saw that we do have a response in the chat section.
I actually do see it. What are the next steps for this definition? Okay, so the next steps will be I will provide the language that's been proposed to leadership. We have a structured routing process through the department. So I will take this language and route it to leadership, and that way it goes through all levels of DOE leadership. And from there, we will receive guidance about our next steps. Okay, so in the chat, it says, I know the phrase research-based in the last sentence has been brought up many times. It brings up questions of what research and will it make it harder to implement? Lots of things are research-based depending on the research, and y'all have debated removing that with strong support from public comments on both sides, but it's still there. So we can certainly I do not remember. I do know that in our language from last week that it was not excluded, but I don't remember the conversation from last time well enough to remember why we left it in there. Do you recall, Kelly?
So it was brought up in public comment, but we did not speak about it as a work group because public comment took us right up until 4 o'clock, which was the end time of our meeting. And so you did send that to us as part of the public comment for us to read and think about, but we did not discuss it as a work group.
We can certainly do that now. I'm going to answer this additional question in the chat just because it's an easy answer really quick. So I make sure that Ren is provided with an answer. It says, do you know if the definition will be voted on by the State Board of Education or if it is just approved from the commissioner? And I don't know. When I was given the task, I know as far as when we have the completed language, my next step will be to route the language, but I haven't been given instructions past that point, so I don't have any answer on that. I'm sorry. And we can certainly open this up to, we can still take the public comment in the chat if you have something additional, but this would be a good time for Chris and Kelly to talk about research-based.
So my feeling, Chris, is that as educators and as, you know, even when I speak with school board members, I do believe that in the education system, we have a strong understanding of research-based and evidence-based. So I'm comfortable with the language. I do believe that we use that language very often. We use it when we purchase our curriculum. We use it when we put other things in place, such as instructional strategies. So for me, even though districts might lean heavier on one researcher or one evidence-based practice over another, I do believe that leaving that in the definition is well understood by districts. And I do believe that if we were asked to provide what research as a district we were leaning on, I do by public or by any additional stakeholder, I know in my role that I'm always prepared to do that. But I will turn it over to Chris for his comments as well.
Well, Kelly, I agree with you. I think just from an educational side, when you look at everything that we're asked to do, regardless of the content, we're always using that type of language, research-based, standards-based, because when we do not, it leaves everything so broad that I think it could really open things up to interpretation. So I'm good with leaving research-based in there. I think that it's important for districts to know that they need to do this with fidelity and to find appropriate material that is out there, that we're not just pulling anything in. And I think when you look at research-based, a lot of times that can tell you that, hey, other districts are looking at this content as well. So yes, you're right. Districts could interpret research different, could use different materials, just as we would with any kind of textbook adoption. But I don't have a problem leaving it in there.
Okay, we will leave it in there. So we have another comment. All activities research-based or not need to be age and developmentally appropriate. Using the word research-based here is likely going to start arguments with parents bringing their own research and saying that is what the school should do. I can say that in the world of education, when we I can't recall a time when we have instructionally, I'm thinking as a teacher, when I was working every day with kids, the mindset was always that whatever we we're doing should be research-based, so that we had, we were making data-driven decisions for the kids, so that we made sure that we had thoroughly, researched what was being presented to the students. And when you research, you do oftentimes find competing viewpoints. That's part of the being research-based. And in our state, we, as a local control state, when we think back to our success criteria, we've got to account for the diversity of our state. And not only is it geographically enormous, when you try to drive from one end to the other, but it's also very different socially. And I know that we have that in the social context in the definition as well. So I don't know. I think, to Chris's point, I can't think of any educational decision, from what textbooks you're going to buy to what instructional practices are happening in terms of, just like day-to-day instruction, that don't have to be research-based in an educator's world. So I don't, in my mind, I can see both the pros and the cons. We have another comment. Please remember that the law here is about parental right, and you will have significant amounts of people who are outside of education using this law to defend their complaints against a school or teacher. I was in education for a decade, so I understand what educators will read this as, but this rule isn't just for educators. This is true. And in this, we also don't know, we also don't know if this language is going to go into rule, or if it will just be provided for guidance to districts. We don't know that at this point. Could it be changed to classroom instruction should be tailored toward, to alleviate the possible issue and to align with the law? So let me see. I'm going to just pull that language out and we can look at it. Maybe change to. I'll put that in for the work group to be able to see it. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to drop it right here and then we'll see. So that everybody can just see it, not that it's going to go there. Oh, I see what you're saying. Sorry. So you were proposing that implementation of research-based activities would be classroom instruction. Classroom instruction should be tailored toward a child's age, developmental status, and the social context. I'll just leave it there for the work group to take a look at and think about.
I think classroom instruction flows fine in that sentence. I think, when we look at research-based, school districts are going to use content that is, research-based in general. But as far as a definition is concerned, thinking about it from a parent standpoint, because I'm a parent of 2 teenage boys, just thinking about how it reads, I think it flows pretty good using that. I'm okay with it. Kelly, what do you think?
I'm trying to figure out exactly where it would be inserted, because I see PJ, Miss Duncan, you put it at could be changed to classroom instruction should be tailored toward.
Yeah, I think that what was proposed, could be wrong, is that this part right here, we'd strike through that.
Okay, so it would read classroom. I can't see it now.
Sorry.
So classroom instruction should be tailored toward a child's age, developmental status, and the social context in which they live.
Yes. And I think, oh my goodness, that one little strike through. Nothing like being in front of lots of people and typing. Okay. That.
And I noticed that in our chat section, Anita had put implementation of classroom instruction should.
Oh, implementation of classroom. Okay. Thanks, Chris. I can't see the chat.
I don't think I like the word should. Like, the word should bothers me. Like, I think if we're going to put that is to be, like instead of should, is to be, like should is vague, and should means like you could do it. We think you should do it, but you still have some discretion, which that actually makes me more nervous in protecting all parties' interests. To put in a word like should.
Could we use the word will? Classroom instruction will be tailored toward a child's age. Classroom instruction will be tailored toward a child's age.
I thought about will as well. I mean, I think it's semantics, but I like either one better than should. I don't like anything to be a loophole or to be ambiguous. In just the implementation of these bills and making sure that we're listening to all stakeholders. Implementation of classroom instruction is to be or will be.
Must be.
Yeah, must be tailored.
Yeah,
I mean, must
think that would work.
It's strong. Yeah, I like it better than will, I think. Must be tailored. I mean,
like
because it's not right. It's not a negotiable issue. If leadership accepts the definition, then this is the definition, whether it's incorporated into statute eventually or not. I like must be better, yeah, than should.
Yeah, I think that has a better flow. So.
Correct. It's easier to read.
Okay, I'm going to go back so I can see the chat. Oh, also we had the word shall. Must sounds like I think Kelly said a strong word. It seems like there's no getting around anything. There's no wiggle room. It's definite. And I feel like since classroom instruction was in the statute, and then sorry, I do more than one of these work groups, and sometimes I get my statutes switched and my Senate bill or House bill switched. But in the bill, it used the terminology classroom instruction also, so perhaps it's a good fit as well. It certainly want to have language that eliminates any.
I mean, I feel like when we think about each child, right? Because we have to do good for all children, but we need to positively do what's best for each child. Like, this to me is getting to the nuts and bolts. Like, implementation of classroom instruction must be tailored towards a child's age, developmental status, and the social context in which they live. I think really tailors itself to thinking about what each child needs. And school boards around the district and superintendents, I think, would understand that language and know what that means, as well as if I'm a parent as well, I can read that and also understand what that means.
And I really appreciate the public comment about, we certainly, like in our success criteria, we're trying to set or write language for all stakeholders. So great discussion, I think, around meeting the needs of everyone. Okay, let's see. Okay. I think just gonna go back in here and look and make sure we got all of the comment. I think we've answered the questions, and I think we've spoken about all of the everything in the public comment. I know we have 20 more minutes, but I also know that everyone needs 20 more minutes. So we'll just give it a couple more minutes and see if anybody else has any thoughts to input in the chat, or certainly if you'd like to speak. So while we will multitask, while we wait to see if we have any more public comment for consideration, I don't want to make any assumptions, so I just want to make sure that Kelly and Chris, you feel comfortable with, unless we have some additional public comment while we're talking, you feel comfortable with this language moving forward to the leadership, through the leadership routing process here at the department? I would like to honor, Leah and Dr. Sheffield also. So I'm thinking that, I'll send the meeting minutes out today and send this language out for everybody's review. And unless I have, some additional guidance from somewhere in the department that we should come back together for any reason, or if there was, I don't know, anything else to come up that we needed to discuss, I think this might be our last meeting. And I appreciate you guys so much.
I was just going to say, I feel very comfortable with the definition, so I'd be curious to see what the other members of the group think. As far as timeline is concerned, I know that you said that this will be our last meeting, December the 5th was kind of the target date. When, I guess the question would be is, when will this kind of be dispersed to the districts? I know it has to go through an approval process. When would we expect something like that?
Oh, that's great. Let's see. Well, let's talk about next steps because we have some really engaged public on here. So I want everybody to be clear on that. I'll send this language out to the whole group, to the work group, along with the transcript. And I'll, any day now, I'm going to be able to send out the recordings too. I just know it. And if Dr. Sheffield or Leah Torres say, hey, you know, we had something else we wanted to add, then we would have to publicly notice those meetings. So I just want the public to know that we're not going to have any additional meetings unless they're publicly noticed. And so that you won't be concerned that, you know, additional work will go on, because we will not change what you see on the screen, this language from this work group without being on our public call. So just want you to know that. Secondly, I don't know yet about what the next steps are going to be past this routing process. And so in order to give you a real good answer, Chris, I would have to know that. However, I can say this. I feel like once this was like step one. So to get now routing it is kind of like a step two. Once we route the language, I think I can start to ask the questions about, okay, what are going to be the next steps? How are districts going to, what is going to be dispersed to districts? Is this going to go to the state board? Is this going to be a part of rule? Those are the conversations that we can have next now that we have the language. That's not a really great answer. It's just honest and precise. I can tell you, I know how the process works. But what I can do is I can keep you guys in the loop about what I learn, especially, you know, as I learn what the next myself, I will be glad to share with the work group. And, you know, having said that, I think everybody that's been on the public calls or excuse me, on the calls that from the public knows how to reach me. You can also inquire. And if you have an email sitting with me asking for the recordings, I promise you, there's somehow I'm getting these recordings to you as soon as possible. And so I'm happy to update anybody that has any questions at any time. Not a super clear, I mean, not a super, that's exactly what's going to happen, but it doesn't really tell you a lot, other than, you know, what's immediately going to happen next is in my control, and that means I'm going to route it through leadership, and then we're going to learn together what the next steps are. But I will keep you guys in the loop. You've worked really hard, and I just want to thank you. Like I said, I know that adding additional work to your already jam-packed workday, it's a labor of love that you participate. I recognize that. I also recognize that our public that give up their time, it's also a labor of love for them to be involved. And so I'm really thankful for all of you. And on behalf of the children, I think I will also want to say thank you for giving up your time. And our work group has just been tremendous and just so positive throughout the entire process, and really child focused, and it's just so apparent. It makes me kind of tear up a little bit, but I'm not going to cry on an official video recording, but I really truly appreciate your hard work on this. And so we haven't had any more public comment, so I think, although I'm going to miss getting my chances to talk with you guys, I think we're done for today. But feel free now. I'm gonna send you this follow-up and we'll see if we have any further comment from our other work group members. But do feel free to reach out at any time if you have any questions, and I will keep you as updated as I am.
It looks like you do have one more public comment.
Oh, do I?
You're just being asked to put your email address maybe in the chat box so they
Oh,
can
I'm
have
so
it.
sorry. I didn't realize I wasn't scrolled all the way to the bottom. So it's patricia.duncan@fldoe.org. Hopefully that came through okay. Cool. And I will say that, Anita, I'm marking you down also. Well, I tell you what, Anita, if you don't mind, if you haven't previously sent me an email asking for the recordings, if you could, that way I'll make sure I have your accurate email address so that I can get those to you. But I've also made myself a note here about the recordings. I'm sure I can go back into this and find your email address. Okay. Thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Okay, well, it's been really great to work with you guys again, and I look forward to Kelly and Chris. I look forward to seeing you at some future work that we do. I hope we've got a lot of great math stuff coming up this spring and this summer. So I know our paths will be crossing as we work to support students together. So I will see you soon, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. You get 12 minutes back.
Thank you.
And PJ, thank you for all that you do for us. We really do appreciate it.
Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate you. And I will see you soon.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
You
Bye, Kelly.
too.
See everybody later.
Bye.
Bye.